Hey, Robin, how's it going? Robin
Good,
Black here.
good, man. How about you? So
Oh,
you're
great.
you're in outside of Toronto? Is
Yeah,
that
yeah, I'm in Brampton area, so it's just
nice?
outside. Yeah, just outside of Toronto. Yep. And are you in
I live
you're
in Stratford, Ontario, but
yeah,
I have a YouTube channel in an apartment in Toronto. So
that's
and
awesome.
I just got back. I was about to tell you where from, but I'm actually not supposed to say. There's certain gigs that you do, especially like television, and sometimes they're fight television things, but sometimes if you're shooting something that's like a series, you're not supposed to talk about it. So I was doing something somewhere in Europe, and I got back on Monday, and you have to go into a hotel quarantine. Last time I was in hotel quarantine for almost 5 days till I got my results. This time was 14 hours. So I
Oh, wow.
was Monday morning I was in Europe.
Yeah.
Monday afternoon, I landed. Monday night, I was in a hotel at the airport, and then Tuesday morning, I came here. So
Wow.
yeah, it's
Awesome.
been busy. Yeah,
Now, are you enjoying what you're doing? You've been doing it for a very long time. I mean, like, can I go back, if you don't mind, before we even get to
yeah,
this? Can I
yeah,
go back to you being a musician
yeah,
before
yeah,
anything, right? Like, I mean, you've spent quite a lot of time in that industry, and that's
yeah,
that's not easy being an entrepreneur.
hmm
You are basically an entrepreneur when you're
yeah,
in
yeah,
that industry, right?
yeah. I mean, I never thought of it that way when I was a musician. I thought of it. I mean, yeah, no question. Like by today's standards, what we did is you would make a record or you'd make a CD or whatever. You'd maybe make music videos. You would create a touring thing. Those things were super valuable for me now. I didn't
Hmm.
think of it with any kind of business mind. And even now, making money and being a businessman are not my motivations.
Hmm.
However, I've started to realize to do my job better, which is to analyze martial arts and find valuable things in them and share what I find. I'll do that better if I'm organized. I can do that better you know, if I have my organized ways of sharing things, platforms you can share them, relationships with businesses. So I learned how to do some of this stuff out of necessity to kind of do it better. But that was true as a musician too. I learned how to like what a record company was and what a touring company was and what a publicist was and slowly found so but that's what I kind of like about the whole thing is like whether you're a martial artist going from white belt to yellow belt to orange belt to whatever, or you're a business guy going from I don't know anything to I know a little to I tried to, it's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing, really.
Yeah.
It's the same situation of constantly learning, constantly improving, trying and failing, learning from that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk about that and kind of spark that up as a conversation that, a lot of musicians or artists or even martial artists, right? Same idea,
Hmm.
or musical artists, whatever you want to call it. They are also coming in, with this mindset that I want to follow my passion, and it's you against like the world. Like it's like I believe in me. A few people believe in me,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
do I really believe in me? Like, can I really do this? Like
yeah.
there must be a lot of not soul searching, gut searching, mindset searching when it comes to this. And when did you realize that it was more of a business? Because I'm sure you started as an artist.
Yes, and I still absolutely prioritize art. And there's a number of kind of weird things that I haven't quite figured out how they fit, but I can
Mm,
say without a shadow of a doubt, when I deprioritized making money, I did better work and ultimately made more money. And
wow.
that's a weird one. And I'm not sure, I can't write a book on that yet. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
can't,
yeah,
it's not a fully flushed out idea, but it's
yeah.
100% true. And here's maybe the easiest way I can describe it is along whatever path, like, so I can use my own stuff as an example, but I feel like this is extrapolatable to anything. So I make videos where I analyze martial arts. I try to and other related things, and I try to find something of value in it. I might make you laugh, I might entertain you. Often my goal will be to make you go, wow, I didn't see that. Sometimes we'll learn about philosophy or something about life in that video. That's my thing. I think the same thing, whether you were making bracelets or you were selling running shoes, it might be the same idea. So you're doing something that somebody might want. Along the way, so let me go back a touch. I had a job at a 24-hour combat sports channel. Remember Fight Network?
I do remember, yeah.
Still exists, just not in the way it used to.
You were there in the earlier days, right?
Yep.
When it first started.
Yeah.
Pretty close,
Yeah, pretty close. Not the very beginning, but sort of like a 2.0 version.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe 2010 or so, and we helped it grow. And it was a 24-hour combat sports channel. People know the Food Network or the Home and Garden Network. It was like that, but martial arts all day long.
Yeah.
And I actually had a salary, and like it was a real job. And so I wasn't thinking at all like an entrepreneur or my own business or anything like that at that time. And one day I went to visit my wife, who's in musical theater, and she was on tour doing a musical, and she was in San Diego, and I went to visit her, and I got a text from my friend John Ramdeen and Bob Torrance, who's our producer, and they were like, it's been great working with you. I got fired today. And I was like, whoa, Ramdeen got fired. And they're like, and it was like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning.
Wow.
It was 3 hours earlier there. And I'm like, oh my God. And then like 2 seconds later, sorry, bro, I got fired. I'm like, oh shit. Like 3 people. Wait a second, am I going to get fired? Right? Like, so, and I told my wife, she woke up and I called them. Anyways, the long and the short of it was they had decided to cut the entire department that made content. Okay. This was around 2017. Now, in retrospect, a lot of people might not say that might have been a great strategy, but at the time you're working with all the, making digital content right now is what everybody's trying to do.
Everyone's doing, yeah.
And we were already really good at that, but businesses do things for many reasons. You can't really judge.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I had no job. And, I literally looked and thought, okay, where do I get a job? And then I thought, what is a job? Like I literally was thinking that, like, what do I want to do? And I'm like, well, I kind of want to do what I just was doing, but that kind of doesn't really exist. And a lot of television channels are either going digital or they're cutting, like
cutting,
And so all of a sudden they were cutting. A lot of the ones that said, we'll just transfer over to digital, we'll lose a bit of money in digital, eventually we'll build value.
We'll build it up,
So I was like, okay, I guess I'm in business for myself now. And I had to look at it. What would 2017, I'm like, I pictured the end first. I think if I could get to a point where I had my own audience that liked what I do, that would be the key to it. If I had that, and I really understood that early. It's like, and I understood that because when I played in a band, it was the same. You played in a band to make all the music in the world, but if nobody hears it, it doesn't matter.
That's so true, yeah.
And you do make the music for its own sake. You make the art because you love the art. But you're like, okay, I do need to find humans that also love this art. So I was like, okay, so that will be the goal, to make something meaningful enough that people will give a shit about it. So that was my starting point.
Okay.
And then I realized, okay, I used to stand in front of a television and point at fighting videos that I had worked on with 2 editors, a digital guy, a lighting guy, 2 camera guys. Like there was like 6 or 8 people. And I'm like, where am I going to find any of these people? And how am I going to pay them? And then I picked up, and then I went and I bought an iPad. And I was looking at it and going, maybe I could somehow do it in this. And like 3 months later, I was making my own videos.
Oh, right from your iPad?
Right from my iPad.
That's
I was making my own videos. And I was like, okay, so what do I at least I understood the process, but I was like, okay, I need to edit some people doing martial arts. I need to somehow draw, animate, zoom, like do these things. And I have to put me and or my voice on it. So I kind of put it into 3 things. I was like, okay, what do I need to do first? Okay, somehow I got to get videos. Okay, where can I get videos? So I went on YouTube and I put in rip or copy videos off YouTube. And like a 9-year-old girl came up and she was like, okay, this is what you do. click here and do this. And I was like, okay. And I had like, my wife had a computer so I could look at it on my iPad. Okay. And I'm like, if this 9-year-old girl can do this, I can definitely do this.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I did that. And then I had a video in my head. Like, look, I got this video. And then I was like, edit video. And I was like, what do I do? Well, this is iMovie. That comes free with my iPad. So I go on YouTube, like, how to edit in iMovie. And like a 9-year-old, 10-year-old girl, different girl, comes up. She goes, okay, this is how you edit in iMovie. Okay. And that took like a week. But I made one. And I looked at it, and it was kind of good. And I thought, I think if I can make 1,000 of these,
Yeah.
that the whole thing will work. And that's when I understood it. I understood it. I was like, I was a few years ahead because I'd already built the ability, an idea, my own voice, and some expertise in a thing. And suddenly, I in a month or two, I had gone from needing a whole studio of people to do it to being able to do it on my iPad, being taught by some 8- and 9-year-old kids on the internet.
Awesome.
But once I realized, I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, I just did this. And I was watching like Gary Vaynerchuk and people like that at the time that were giving insight into how this might work and how, studying martial arts is studying change. And I was like, I can see the change that's happening in the internet. And suddenly I looked at it and I got it. I'm like, if I make 1,000 of these, I think, and I don't know how long that's going to take, but I think I can make a living. And sorry, this is a very long way to get to this, but
no, it makes sense.
Along the way, I thought, somebody pops up and they're like, we'll give you $50 if you sell our whey protein on your video. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Now, and this is where I figured that deprioritization of money was key. I was like, okay, if I spend time and effort on this, and I've got 1,000 people watching it, and I ask them, hey, you want to buy my whey protein? Some of them will be turned off. Some of it will be taking time and effort away from me. I'll be taking $50 to give slightly less honest value to my audience. And I turned down all of those things in the beginning. Wear my t-shirt and not that I wouldn't, like if it was a t-shirt I loved, or it was a whey protein that I used, or it was something, it wasn't super
genuine,
intentional,
basically.
but it was survive with as little money as you can humanly survive with for as long as possible while you get good. You build a relationship with real people, giving them real things for real value, asking nothing in return.
Wow.
And once I started down that path, I realized I just make what makes me excited.
Yeah.
So now I'm making videos about philosophy, and I'm making videos about learning, and I'm making videos about anything. And once I started doing that, where everything was for the art, it all made more sense. It just continued to make more sense. And over time, and then all of a sudden, one day, I'm sitting here and I have like really good partnerships that pay all my bills, and we can travel, and I don't owe anybody anything, and I make a pretty good living. Like, I can make the kind of living of a dentist or a doctor making videos about martial arts.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you had no idea how you're going to monetize this, I'm sure.
No idea. In fact, my thoughts were, don't even worry about it until it's so good you won't have to think about it. And literally that's how it worked out. And it wasn't instant. There's like, you will suddenly, it's a tricky one because I don't want to tell people to go out and borrow money or run up their credit card or like whatever, but you will find yourself either starving or a bit in debt or working a hard job 10 hours a day to take all your money and put it into building the thing you love doing. But within reason, I think that's the right thing. And I definitely did that. Like a few years ago, I was like, holy shit, like I'm in debt, or I don't have money coming in, or wait a second, like I was this real good fortune, because by the time the pandemic hit, I was a couple of good years of rolling and making something of value and having established. So this luck has to be there too. But I had no idea. But I did understand that if I built something that people liked for its own sake, that would be valuable to someone else.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, Bellator, who's like one of my best partners, was like, that thing you do, It's really good. It would be good to celebrate our fighters. You have an audience that will like Bellator. You like Bellator. We like you. Why don't we do something together? And all of a sudden there it started to make sense. But there's that idea that you resist, you know, a little money to keep growing without asking for anything in return. Like and even to this day, I don't think I've ever charged a regular person, a person who consumes stuff, for a video, for like a, you know, I've never said, hey, you got to give me $3 a month if you want to watch these. Like, they're free.
Wow.
Someone else will be paying for you to watch these, but not you. And that's it. That was really important to me, you know?
That's amazing. Thank you for, you know, the detailed path there, because a big thing, what's stopping people from doing this and to creating, you know, the personal brand that you have, and you did it organically and then you took it to tech, right?
Yeah.
Because for many years upon years, everything was in person, you know?
Yes.
And then you had to like adopt tech and learn it. And this is, you know, I mean,
it's a whole other world of learning.
Yeah.
You know?
But Robin, that's amazing. And what I want to delve into here is, how are you able to keep that persistent mindset? Because there's times where, you know, you'll do it a few months, you do it a month, and people will say, nothing's going to work out. They'll do it a year and they'll be like, forget it. How do you stay committed to that good, honest, like it's part of your DNA kind of thing? You know, it's part of your, and how does that affect your personal life as well?
Yeah.
By doing this?
That is a very good question. And it's easier for me to answer now. And maybe if you asked me when this chapter is 4 years. From the day that, you know, my regular salaried television job ceased to exist to today is 4 years. The first 2 were quite hard, and the last 2 were like just continuing to go in good ways, like larger and more successful ways, because that's also the nature of it. You remember I said the first video took me like 3 days. Now I can make, you know, 10 in a week quite comfortably. Wow. That's a big difference. But it isn't just I got better at the tech, I got smoother with the thing, I got better as an artist. That element to me is vital, and it's all connected. So the mindset to not quit, the ability to get better, the ability to grow, and build an audience that cares, which is partially getting in front of more people by doing more work, but partially just doing better work. All of it is connected, and the connection of all of it. For me, I don't know whether I came upon this and it was part of the motivation, or I later read this and recognized myself in it. But it's called what some call, and I'll look up where I read this, the craftsman's mindset. Craftsman's mindset. And this is just the description. I don't think this is where I got it. The craftsman's mindset is treating your job as a craft. That is, focus on gaining rare and valuable skills until you become so good they can't ignore you. The craftsman's mindset, with its relentless focus on becoming, is by definition the pursuit of gaining rare and valuable skills. So it came from a book. But I read the book after and realized that was me and how I was looking at it. It was about making those 1,000 breakdowns. It wasn't about how many followers can I gain or how much money can I gain. It was, if I make 1,000 of this, not only will more people see it, but I'll get better at it. I'll get smoother at it. I'll get more efficient at it. And the art of developing any skill, you know, from martial arts and other areas of your life, is continued hard work. There's no other substitute. So to do something, and I think we get it a little wrong. We're like, and even when I'm describing it, I'm describing a story. And when people hear my story, which right now is very good, and hopefully even though the world will change again, I'll be able to adapt to it. You're hearing, I was here, then this happened, and then I had 100,000 Instagram followers, and then Joe Rogan recommended me, and then this thing happened, and then I got a deal with Bellator. So and if you focus on those things, which are the outcomes and the consequences and the results, you lose the important shit, which is doing the thing. doing the
Yeah.
thing, do the
I
thing,
get it.
get up, do the thing, get up, do the thing.
Yeah.
And when you get up and do the thing and you really get into it and you're like, oh my God, this is my best one yet. You will put it out and
Yeah.
you'll be like, nobody watched it.
Oh,
Nobody
really?
watched it, or they didn't get it, but
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's my best one. But
Yeah.
when that becomes irrelevant, and I've heard that from a lot of people, the
Okay.
response of the audience becomes irrelevant. How many
Okay.
watched it becomes irrelevant. How many shared it becomes irrelevant. How much money you made from it becomes irrelevant. Because in the context of 1,000 of them, the
Yeah.
point is to do 1,000.
Averages,
Yeah.
basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And this thing's role might not have been the one that got you 1 billion views. This
Yeah.
thing's role might have been the one that taught you something that you don't even recognize that
Yeah.
made this one brilliant.
Yeah.
4 months later.
Yeah.
So wherever I read that craftsman's mindset, there are other
Amazing.
descriptions for it. Doing the work for its own sake.
Yes.
Becoming, finding inherent value in it.
Yeah.
Intrinsic joy in the doing.
Intrinsic. Yeah. Makes sense.
Anybody that you've ever met who loves, so George St. Pierre is one of the most successful athletes ever.
Yeah.
I got to travel and I was doing a documentary when he was fighting Michael Bisping. And I watched him, and I was in LA, and he was at some place where NFL athletes train. And he was doing all kinds of stuff on all kinds of equipment. And then he went over, it's near the end of it, and there's a couple of boxes, box jumps.
Yeah.
And it was a particularly hit this, bring your body this way and turn like this. And he did it, and he couldn't quite do it. And he didn't leave until he could do it. And it wasn't because he was mad or he had to do it. He just took joy in finding something he wasn't good at.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And he just did it. And he's lived his whole life that way. If he finds something, he's like, he's joyful about finding a weakness, because then nobody filmed it. Nobody ever know about it. Nobody will ever. I'm telling you the story now, but that's amazing. He did it. He did it because he had to do it. And anyone like that succeeds. So, and you mentioned being passion driven. To truly, the passion can't be, being rich. That sounds great, but I mean, that's not a passion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a consequence. The passion can't be being an influencer or like having a 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. The passion has to be doing the thing. And if you're doing the thing and you love to do the thing, you get better at the thing, you obsess over the thing, then that'll often work out. And I got really lucky too. I mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk. At some point, I connected with him with some videos that I had made early 2016, I think, before and along the time. So actually, when I worked for that television channel, I could see the sort of executives who were from television obsessing over the fact that less people were subscribing on television. And I was like, that's going to happen regardless. Over here is what we have to grow. And I stumbled upon Gary, and there was some videos that I was making at the time that were getting 100, 200, 300,000 views on YouTube or in 2016. And people were like redubbing them in Korean and Russian and stuff.
That's amazing.
It was really wild. And I kind of somewhere, when I discovered Gary, I linked him in something or sent something to him, and he emailed me. And he was like,
really?
And he put in the email like 6 staff of his office. So like Leslie, who's one of his assistants, and a bunch of people that work in sort of different departments. And then when the thing happened with Fight Network where they laid off digital, I sent him a message. And then within 2 days, so I literally started my YouTube channel about 48 hours after we got laid off. Literally 48 hours. I was like, I don't know how to do it. But I went on Google and I was like, how to start a YouTube channel. Then I sat in this room. It was hideous, had no lights. My friend Mark, who had reached out to me and said, I don't know how to do YouTube either, but I do podcasts. Maybe I can help you. And I shot something. And then within a day of that, Gary and Leslie and a bunch of people in his office gave me like a 90-minute phone call where they just sat with me on speakerphone.
Wow.
And I asked them questions like, well, what do I do about Instagram? They're like, well, you started like this. And I'm like, well, how do I, and this, I remember this being one early because the word
Oh my God.
monetized was very common. And I said, how do you monetize this? And they said, you don't, not right now. Right now, what you do is you grow it. And if you grow it, you may get paid, and you have a big enough audience, you may get paid to speak, you may get paid to sell running shoes, you may get paid to do some other thing. But right now, your job is make things that are, and you know, inherently this spoke to me because that's kind of how, you know, I know I'm rambling all over the place, but
no, this is good. Yeah.
Reasonably successful, and we never made a penny. Because if we made $1, we put it all back in. We made another music video, or we did another tour that we paid for, whatever. So that natural idea of money not being the point, but being something that may be a good byproduct of doing great work, that already was in me. So, but yeah, I got really lucky, and I had some good fortune. And my very first YouTube video, which was garbage, and the sound, like, it's still on my YouTube channel. I think we might have retouched the sound since, but the sound sounded like this. And Joe Rogan, who was a fan of my work at the Fight Network, and we became friends, he retweeted it. So I had 10,000 views. And then I was starting.
Amazing.
And so some is very good luck, but then, you know, 900 videos later, 800 of them had, you know, 800 views or 700 views. And I just didn't, it wasn't about, it couldn't be about that. It was about the doing. And if you keep doing, you will get better. Black belts were white belts once, every one of them. You know? No,
it's great. Honestly, I love the breakdown you gave, and wow, Gary Vee himself, and even you know, like he didn't have to spend 90 minutes with you. He didn't charge you, I don't think. Like, I mean,
no, he didn't. It was his staff, but he emailed and linked them all in it.
Still,
and then
that's amazing.
And I have met Gary.
Wow.
And, you know, and I've been to their office a couple of times.
Really?
So I've been to at Hudson Yards, up in their office where they have and I had meetings with them about doing stuff. They own a sort of a channel and a lifestyle kind of brand called 1:37 p.m. And I've done a bit of work with them at different times. And so, but besides the thing they taught me, one of the big things that I kind of took that day was like, these people all have jobs. They're all busy. They all are paid to produce. And that day they were just like, let's just help this guy. And they didn't do it because maybe one day it'll make us money. They did it because that's a part of how they work. That's a part of how they think. And I started to realize where you come from television, which is, you know, competitive, and everything's competitive. And then you suddenly find your way over time into a digital world. And there's all these really wonderful things about it. Really difficult things, like you could spend years making zero money or spending all your money in hopes of growing something. But there's all these wonderful things you discover. Like there's a whole ecosystem of sharing, of people doing things together, of people saying, you know, let's just hang and chat. Like, let's share an idea. And that, I think, is a reaction to, you know, the non-digital world, which became very like, if you had a store in the mall and you sold jeans and the store next to you sold jeans, you didn't get along. Whereas today, you know,
so true.
Like my friend Lawrence Kenshin is a good friend.
Lawrence.
He makes breakdown videos. And we're friends. And you know, and Boss
you're not competitors, right?
We're friends. Joe Rogan is the biggest commentator in the world, and we're friends. Like you end up being able, and you know, you're not going to love everybody's work, and you're not going to automatically get along with everybody. It's not this, you know, it's not the 60s, and we're not all on LSD at a flower thing. You won't get along with everybody, and you won't like everyone's work, but you will end up building a community, because we're all sitting alone in our homes right now, and it's natural to build a community.
That's amazing, Robin, because what it makes me think of is, you know, we all, like, you know, people our age or even older, they think, oh man, you know what, this social media has made people antisocial. They don't want to talk to each other. But what you're making me think of is, you know, is what I'm seeing as well, is that people are willing to communicate and share more in the ecosystem you mentioned on social, rather than in person, where they might feel a little shy, or they can't produce a photo, or they can't produce a thought by writing or text, image, or video, right? So in a way, like, you know, this tech has actually brought people together much more than, you know.
And you know what's
You know?
really interesting? I never thought of this till you just said it, but this conversation we're having right this second, 19 months ago, people might roll their eyes at us. But
Yeah.
now, imagine being in a pandemic lockdown and not having this.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden,
Sanity.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, this is our ability to communicate and hang out
Yeah.
and share ideas and have a laugh and not
Exactly.
feel alone. Like this
Yeah.
thing that only 19 months ago people were like, wow, this is going to be the end of civilization.
Yeah.
Now is our
Yeah.
ability
It is.
to communicate. Yeah,
Yeah.
the world is such, I mean, we're in a, the universe, world, time, culture, civilization, martial arts, digital tech, whatever. They're all liquid, meaning
Yeah.
that they are in a state of constant change. The whole
Mm-hmm.
world around you. A lot of our frustrations as people is we kind of want to figure out how to identify everything in a way that it won't change.
Yes.
We can understand it. It's the way
Yeah.
but that's just not true. And
Yeah.
trying to force that creates friction.
Yeah.
Accepting that the world is ever changing and unpredictable. The day I had a lot of different friends, and we've all felt it. We've all felt alone and scared and freaked out and frightened, and it's normal, right? We
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be normal to not feel freaked out. But a big one that worked for me early, and when the pandemic first hit, I did a stream somewhere every day. And I haven't been doing that because there are other ways that I can create art and communicate with people and stuff. But that was a really important thing for me at the beginning. And I remember talking about this with people. People would say to me, I just feel like there's so much uncertainty. That was a very thing you heard a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
13, 14 months ago. And this is what I would say in response. And it seemed to make people feel better. Some people maybe at first it made them feel worse, but that's sometimes the path. But I would say, we all lived in absolute uncertainty 6 months ago. We just didn't know it, but it was absolute uncertainty, and we did just fine. We'll do just fine in absolute uncertainty now. We are only more aware of it, but that could be a good thing,
Yeah.
Living in an uncertain world under a guise of artificial certainty, is that better than living in an uncertain world and just knowing it's true and learning to be okay with it? I think it's better to be connected to reality, and reality is uncertain.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And, as you mentioned this, it makes me think of, all the ups and downs over the lockdowns and this and that. And, even Robin, like conspiracy theories, I don't want to call them conspiracy theories because they may be true. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
this one world, new world order and all this trying to control us and all this. And I was falling into it, Robin. Like I was, and I was like, how do I find me in all this? Like, do I even want to live on this earth? Right. Like I was literally ups and downs, man.
Yeah, man.
So, you know what I mean? Like, and now it's like, okay, I just got my vaccine. I didn't want to before because of all these things I keep hearing.
Yeah. So it is a wild thing. So, I talk to a lot of people about this in a variety of ways. We are vulnerable right now. We're vulnerable. If we're alone, sitting by a computer, by ourselves, and we start going down a rabbit hole, there are little bits of our limbic system, little rewards, little like chemical rewards in our brain when we read something and go, I know how it works now. But then it gives you a thing. Yeah, but who's behind it? Oh, it's those guys. Wait, but where did they come from? And it's all a game. It's manipulation, and we're vulnerable to it.
Yeah.
I was with a friend in Wyoming, and I was there for fights. I was there during the election. So it was during that week where the election was over, but shit wasn't counted.
Man.
Yeah, and I was in America during that period. Heavy time, like for everybody. It didn't matter what anyone believed. It was a heavy time. And I was chatting with a friend, and he was talking, and he just started getting all animated about compliance, and they're making you comply, and this is how the government controls you. I can't live in a world like that. And he says, I've had conversations with my wife about suicide because that would be better than living under. And I was like, man, like we've always lived under like circumstances that we will never understand. And you know where I found actually the most, so in a world where we could be consuming things that can make us scared, angry, literally not wanting to live, terrified, combative, all those things, we can also pause and find things that give us the opposite. And one of the biggest for me in little moments, and like in America during that time, and for some reason, I just kept I'd turn on CNN, then I'd turn on MSNBC, and then I'd turn on Fox News. And they were all different, and everybody was mad. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I did something that I've done many times in my life. And whenever I do this, meditation always helps. But I would go and start to read Stoic philosophy. The writings of Marcus Aurelius, who was, I guess, a king or a leader, president, whatever his title was, emperor, whatever his title was at the time, during the times of pandemic, war, famine, death, etc. Failure, the collapse of things. And he would find ways through acceptance, to be stoic, able to lead, able to help people, able to do all of these things. And so meditations is the writings of Marcus Aurelius during this period. And it is Stoic philosophy is hands down some of the most powerful things to read and consume during periods of turbulence, unpredictability, and unrest. Because the fundamental, and this is the root of good sports psych, performance coaching, life, like the fundamental pull away is to sit calmly. Anything that's creating that turbulence, we're going to set that down. We're going to take a walk and to calmly look at what is within our control and what is not. So possible one world order. Fucking not within our control.
Not at all.
Not at all. And you know what is in our control? I'm not fucking reading that. Now, there would be an argument that somebody would have but you got to know what's going on. No, I don't. Because I'll never know what's going on. And just what that website says is going on is not what's going on. Right? So I could read that website. I could read about the Earth being flat. I could decide to consume, Republicans versus Democrats, what's the soap opera of the drama of that. I could consume only cartoons. I could consume, investigative journalism into what's going on in Myanmar and Russia. I could consume anything, and none of it would give me the whole picture. No amount of effort. And then we go back to the what is the most important thing? How can I positively, and if this is any of our purposes, and that it's mine, I believe, how can I positively influence the world around me? How can I most positively? How can I, in some way, provide some benefit? Could it be by reading shit that makes me crazy and then putting more of that back in the world and fighting with people about shit none of us know anything about and we think we do because we read some website for 14 hours? Or could it be by being my best self? Am I my best? And I'm pretty sure that's the answer. So somebody would say, but you don't know what's going on in Russia or whatever. I don't. But I won't by reading this either. And neither do you. What you've done is become consumed by something that's made you not your best self. So how can we be our best self? Turn that shit off. And that goes, and news. And I've had this conversation with friends. I'm like, if you turn off the news, your life will within days improve.
Get better.
And friends of mine are like, if you don't, and some friends will say, but Robin, if you're lucky enough to live in a world where you don't need the news, and I'm like, we all live in that world, because it starts with acceptance. I don't know exactly what's going on with the government, and you don't just because you watch CNN or Fox News either, but you become a lesser content, serene, intelligent, functional version of yourself by trying. You will never understand the universe. You will never understand the government. You will never understand the coronavirus. You will never understand any of these things. but by trying, you will fail and you will make yourself a worse version. So we go back. Okay, what do? Well, we move our body, we chat with our friends, we hang out with our family, we learn things, we try to, we try to give things to other people, we try to be more calm, we meditate, and this is always proven to be true. The idea that by watching any news, reading anything on the internet, subscribing to any theory or belief system will in any way make your life better is almost always untrue. It will almost always make your life worse. And we figured that out after a while. We go back to the root things. And that's the other thing. Whenever in doubt, okay, again, you close the internet, you turn off the TV, you try to quiet it and whatever, you take the walk, and then you're like, okay, what can I control? Okay, I cannot consume things that make me completely combative, crazy, or maybe there is a one world government that's trying to put a microchip on our arm, run by Bill Gates, who's trying to destroy whatever. If I find one tidbit about it and I obsess over that, it's probably untrue, because the secrets to the universe are not in this fucking website. It doesn't matter. And the idea that you believe it is means you should shut down and go out into the world. And it's like, okay, what am I eating? Okay, I'm eating shit. Okay, I'm eating Doritos. I'm drinking Diet Coke. I'm chugging vodka. Okay, we gotta fix that. Okay, what kind of exercise am I getting? Okay, none. I'm sitting in front of the news yelling at the TV. Okay, we gotta fix that. Okay, how much sleep am I getting? Very little, because I'm very concerned that Bill Gates is gonna fucking ruin my life. Okay, we gotta fix that. Okay, how am I interacting with my friends? I'm freaking out on Facebook and I'm very angry. Okay, we gotta fix that. And you go back to the root principles, and the best few will have the most important value on the world around you. Whether Nancy Pelosi is a fucking alien or Donald Trump is dragon, whatever, whoever's doing whatever thing, none of us are doing anything about it on Twitter or on fucking QAnon posts or wherever we think we are. And that is often the argument when I would say something like this: shut it off. They're like, no, you need to know what's going on. You don't know what's going on just by this. This is not what's going on. This thing here, that ain't it. Like, the universe, and as much as I'm having a laugh, some of it is very simple. So we each can develop a certain amount of expertise, and when we do, and mine has over time become in studying martial arts, sharing what I find and stuff, and I realize. So I've been studying martial arts since I was, between 7 and 10, kind of starting, so 40 years. It's just long enough to realize how little I fucking know. Like
so
it took me 40 years of constant study of all related paradigms that I can find, interdimensional thinking about how the body works with the mind, works with movement, works with how it relates to a changing digital environment, and what it means, how communication works, so that I've dedicated my life to that. And it's just enough to realize I don't know this much of what is possible to be known. If I lived another 1,000 years, it would be a joke. What I know now compared to what I would know in 200 years of hard work, meaning I don't know much. If that's true about martial arts, how the fuck do I think I know anything about COVID by watching 9 hours of Fox or MSNBC?
That's a good point.
It's absurd, right?
Yeah, I never even thought of that. That's that's valid. That makes a lot of sense.
A mechanic has spent his whole life looking at cars, and he may get to the point that he realizes, man, I thought I knew a lot about this 10 years ago, but now when I really look at how it moves and physics and I know so little. Another 100 years I'd know more. How that guy might think he understands, foreign policy, it's just crazy, right? Like, we don't know anything, and a lot of these rabbit holes give us this feeling of knowledge where there is literally none. We have no knowledge about one world government's COVID. And you will hear people, this is droplets versus this is aerosol. It's like,
because it appeals to a side of us, doesn't it? It appeals to something in us.
It feels good to know. It feels terrible to think that, Bill Gates is going to kill us all, but it feels great to understand. Well, and that, I think, is a part of the root of it. A lot of us most of us, maybe all of us, live in a world where we feel at times like we have very little sort of control over the world around us.
Yeah.
And the weirder of a time it gets, sometimes the less control we have. Well, fuck, I read this website for 7 hours. I feel like I understand. See, I knew the world was rigged, and I know it's these people now.
And then when I hear that, I go and I tell someone, hey, do you know that the Rothschilds run the world, and they're like Satan worshippers and all this crap, right? You know, like
exactly.
And it's
Satan worshipping pedophiles. Oh well, shit. Of course it is. Right? The world doesn't make sense, but you know what makes sense? People who drink baby's blood are ruining everything and chanting off someplace. Okay, now I understand. Of course you don't. If it was really so simple, but the danger is, if it was really so simple that the internet can reveal that actually, although the world looks this way, really, you know, Trump is doing X, Y, Z that's evil, or Biden's son, yada, yada, yada. It's really that fucking simple. But once you think it is, all of a sudden, you know, people are like, well, why can't we use the, you know, you see how far that will go, where people will try to overthrow things, and nobody's trying to be bad. Like the people who are yelling at somebody else, or the people who are sure that the earth is flat, they are victims of really of being really vulnerable, looking for answers in a world that doesn't make sense. And you know what makes sense? The earth is flat, and now it all makes sense. Like, and so
you just want an answer, basically.
Yeah, we want an answer. And so what I try not to do, and although I'm making fun, and I'm trying to, like, in hopes that especially the idea that how any of us could think we actually got it all figured out in a world where that's just not the case, that should jar us occasionally into being like, oh wait, it can't be so simple, right? But it may not. But what I try to do is, and that's why I'll say Trump's an alien, or Nancy Pelosi, because I'm not trying to be on either side. We're all a little crazy, right? We're all a little crazy, and we're all living in a world where we're gathering information. Information is shared. We've lost the ability to recognize what expertise is. You know, a 16-year-old who's never played a sport will literally argue on Twitter, say, this guy doesn't know anything about martial arts, about Joe Rogan, who spent his whole life. And that kid will believe that. He will believe that
it's his truth.
It's his truth.
You're so right.
It's his truth. So we're starting to live in a world, and this gets weird when you go into this, but people will, you know, when that kid would say to, let's say, Daniel Cormier, champion of the world, you don't know shit about it, man. It's obviously this, it's this. You say, man, like, how can you think that? He may say, very common thing we may say, I'm entitled to my opinion. And yes, that's true. But I kind of feel like that's a trap. Like being encouraged to form an opinion quickly with almost no information is a cognitive trap. Much easier to control. It's basically, isn't it? And me and the population become much easier to control if we're able to be given simple opinions and be sure that they're true. The people who are a lot, you know, more sophisticated in gathering information are people who reject their own intuitive nature of forming an opinion for as long as humanly possible.
You know, it's so true what you're saying. So true, Robin.
This is another idea. It's called negative capability. And let's look that one up, because this is actually a super valuable thing. All fun and joking aside, negative, and this is powerful. Negative capability. Negative capability is a phrase that first used by a Romanian poet, John Keats, to explain the capacity of, at the time, he's talking about writers, but this is true of all domains, the greatest writers, particularly Shakespeare, to pursue a vision of artistic beauty, even when it leads them into intellectual confusion and uncertainty, as opposed to a preference for certainty. So negative capability, as it applies to our interpretation of the world, is sitting as long as possible in a state of uncertainty, learning to be able to be okay with not knowing. It's really powerful, really powerful.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's very tough, but it can be cultivated. Like it can be a practice. You sit.
Yeah, liberating. Yeah.
Yeah, you sit in uncertainty and you reject the own so humans are super fragile, right? We have this real need to know, and that's kind of what we're talking about a little bit here. And so we have this tendency, and it dates back to our ancestors. Like if we're all traveling along and we look and we see something, we got to decide, is that thing a saber-toothed tiger? Holy shit, that's a saber-toothed tiger. We better run. Right?
Yeah.
So this has given us a lot of value. This has been useful in our evolution, but it's a lot less useful now. So we have a tendency to draw conclusions or form opinions or deploy judgments.
Judgments,
right? Yeah. But if we can sit for as long as possible and reject that very fragile need for certainty, we can then begin to really learn things. And they say that Einstein, to create the theory of relativity, he sat in the feeling of uncertainty for 10 fucking years. Because and it doesn't mean you don't say, maybe it could be this, maybe it could be that, but he rejected kind of the typical paradigms, like the ways of thinking that existed, because his idea that space and time were connected, and that the faster you moved, the different, you moving affects time.
Yeah.
Your interpretation of time, it couldn't exist with the typical lines of thinking that were there. The only way he could get there was literally sitting in a feeling of uncertainty for 10 years with a lifetime of knowledge, mind you, right? So this ability to reject your own opinion is one of the most powerful things you can cultivate.
That's huge, Robin.
It's one of the most powerful.
You're making me think right now, like, one thing I've been noticing, like lately, a lot of times, I'm telling you, I think back, a lot of my judgments or opinions of others, they weren't right.
No,
they were like almost 100% wrong.
yeah. I know. You know why? Because and we're trained currently. So a lot of these mechanisms are a function of what we see. And so we used to be taught by our parents, and then we would be taught by influence on that.
Yeah.
Now, also, even, and let's not go quite to that extreme. Let's just say, the government is going to shut Ontario down until June 14th. It's May the 1st. It's April 30th, and I find this out.
Yeah.
I cannot control that.
Yeah.
I can control how healthy I am. I can control where I can work on my own mental health. I can spend time with friends. I can work on figuring out how to take that truth. That truth's going to be that truth. That thing's happening. Doesn't matter how.
You're not going to change it.
Not going to change it.
Yeah.
So, and I can get mad at it for an hour or a day, but if I stay mad at it for 6 weeks, all this other important shit is not going to get done. I'm not going to eat good. I'm not going to be kind to my friends and family. I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to work on figuring out how to do something on the internet. So you have to release that. Somewhere in between, I cannot control the shutdown till June 14th. I can't. But I can control these things. Somewhere in between, there are things somewhere where you're like, this is so important. So important. And also, I only have 24 hours. I'm going to sleep 8 of them. I want to spend some with my wife. I want to, spend some. I may have 6
only so much
hours
time.
at my disposal.
Am
I going to spend 6 hours being mad at this? But there will be things sometimes where you're like, that thing is important enough that I'm going to take the 6 hours I have every day and spend it there. I don't care. And sometimes that's, a cultural issue, that is an oppressive issue. And that's where we sometimes get misled. We only have 6 hours of life we could spend. We could build a business. We could be kind to our neighbors. We could learn something. We could learn to play piano. We could learn a language. We could train. We could visit our grandparents. There's a lot of things we could do. If you spend it going down a rabbit hole on the internet, it's going to create turbulence in your life. I mean,
makes sense.
At the same time, this is a real thing, and it's not. We're living in a weird, difficult time. Uncharted shit. Shit. We've never lived in a universe of this kind of information shared.
Never. It's so much, right?
So much.
Even for you, like, you're so busy. You're with TSN. You have, like, I know we had. You were saying you have to get on TSN too pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I'm hoping like we can do this again sometime.
Let's do it again.
You know, if you don't mind, because I really love what you're sharing there, and I think it can really add value to myself and, you know, our audience, right? You know,
for sure.
I didn't know you had such a, like, I knew you had, you know, this Zen mentality and this very outgoing, but I can see a little bit why you're successful. I can start to see there's principles, there's core values here at stake that it seems like you really value and you kind of stay true to, right? And you're constantly making choices, it seems like, on what to focus on.
Yeah,
right?
That's a really, really, really interesting thing. Yeah, that choice is a big one. Yeah, I never thought so succinctly about it, but yeah, I mean, we're in a world of distraction and little pitfalls and stuff. When I made a joke about Doritos, if we are watching TV, they'll sell us some Doritos. If we're eating Doritos, we'll move a little less. If we're moving a little less, be a little less motivated. If we're a little less motivated, we might be a little less kind. We might do a little less work. We might be a little less creative. Like all those things are choices, and it's difficult. But they just start with one, right? Like one or two. You know, people want to be the Super Bowl champion or like win an Oscar or whatever in 20 minutes. But all those people started with one small improvement, little tiny
That's
improvement.
amazing.
You know,
okay, so one quick takeaway from you would be just a quick, you know, 2 or 3 lines that people can take with them.
Yeah.
You know?
I think if we try to connect, I have a tendency to think a polite way or a kind way would be dimensionally all over the place. A less kind way would be, you know, erratically, and that's sometimes how I think. And we were chatting that way today, but somehow I think it's all connected. If you make things super simple. Am I eating good? Am I sleeping good? What am I doing? What am I consuming? And that's not just food, it's like information. And then the craftsman's mindset that we talked about earlier. What do you do? Like, what are we about? What are we doing here? If we don't know, we're going to spend time finding, trying, examining. But if making, you know, bracelets or fighting videos or you know, writing books, whatever it is we do, building furniture, it doesn't matter. The craftsman is the craftsman's approach is a workable way. Is you keep doing a little bit every day. The doing makes you better. The making it better makes you like it more. The you liking it more makes you do more of it. Makes you curious. Being curious makes you figure out how to get even better. And it's what they call a virtuous cycle. If you're doing the thing that you like for its own reason, it becomes a virtuous, not worrying about the destination, the consequences, the outcome, which is, you know, not hard, not easy to do if you're not eating or have a comfortable place to live. But if you have food, water, air, and a bed and safety, you can do that. Those are the only things we really need. And we may need transportation depending on what the things, but there's very few things we actually need. If you have those things, making art for art's sake will ultimately, for me, it's been the key to it. The key to it.
It's amazing because every time I interview a guest, I hear the same thing from the Muay Thai guy, Sean Fagan, from John Mallett, owner of Native Ads, like millions of dollars he makes. He said, you know, they're saying their success came from the same.
Really?
They said it differently, but they're all, every guest I've interviewed is saying the same thing in a different way.
Wow, and that's really good. That's a really good thing because, you know, when people watch 2 or 3 or they watch a couple of your lives and then they don't see one for 2 weeks and somebody else comes on, they look different, they're different age, different background, and the story is the same. That's good. That's good to hear.
And this is what, when I look back at it, my successes, as you know, I don't call them successes, but things that worked out well for us in the past. Same thing. It was times when you just, you know, you just focused on it. And did it from the heart, right? And to help people. And you know what? It's always done me well back in the past. And whenever I didn't do well, it was the latter. I was counting. I was, you know. Right?
I know.
You know,
it's true.
I'm sure we all know in some way, right? Hey, Robin, thank you so much. You know, you went over the time. I'm sorry I'm holding you back from TSN right now.
Not at all.
I love you, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Brother. And let's do it again. We'll just stay in touch and in 4, 5, 6 weeks, whenever we can connect again, let's do it.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
buddy. Have a great day. Take care.
Enjoy the hostilities, my friend.
Oh, I love it. Say Bink one time.